the one thing that everything does, no matter whether it's an atom or a piece of metal or a human being or an emotion or anything, is it travels through time. You know, it has a momentum to it. I thought, well, you could just use a line. A line has momentum and travel to it, and it can be as abstract as that, and then the line can be representative of anything. It doesn't need to be prescriptive. It's just a line, and therefore it could be, you could say that it's an atom travelling, you could say that it's a human emotion, you could say it's a thought. And that has been the sort of bedrock of my practice since that time. These works and loads of the works came out of that, and in a way it's still the underlying kind of solidity of my practice comes from that investigation. No matter where the works are, it's this interest in trying to figure out how things relate to one another or what things might mean. I'm interested in what you might be able to see when you put it into a diagrammatic form so that you can really examine it. You know, the prints do start to have that, so it's more obvious that particular square is this translation into a form, and then obviously this is the sort of reality of that form, and you've got this snapshot where you can see how one tonality relates to another or where it might be before going back into the sort of wider image. The piece is actually two prints together. So this is one of them, and then there's another one which is kind of a red, the same motif, but it's with white lines, which are even harder to see. A lot of the other work, like the drawings and stuff, can be quite conceptually heavy and rigid, and it's nice to do something that's a bit more kind of playful. I've been making this series called the Offcuts series, where I'd ended up making other works from sort of little offcuts of other works. I'd made a few pieces that were like this, paintings onto the parquet, and I had this feeling in my head that they were some of them looked like little maquettes for monuments. There's something quite nice about that, and I started to kind of put a few together. I had this big square piece of an offcut. I thought, why don't I make a sort of kind of like a weird Stonehenge, this sort of geometric piece. And then in reality, what I then got to was remembering there's a scene in the film Akira. There's this sort of display that shows the power growing within this boy, Akira. And it's flat, but it kind of moves around in these intertwining waves. I suddenly thought, oh yeah, why don't I should do something like that. So it's like a weird Stonehenge, but it's also got this feeling of kind of energy growing out of it. So yeah, I think that's where this piece came out of. So these panels, they're from old cabinets, and then obviously what's written on them, are these sort of didactic messages, or I would maybe argue didactic truths. The thing that I had in my mind when I started to think about making the work was this one about exponential growth. Like people you hear talk all the time about, we want year-on-year growth within the company, and the shareholders want this, and you just think that's completely blind to the reality of the situation, which is our planet doesn't get anything from outside of our planet, and therefore we are an enclosed system. And the simplest grasp of mathematics will tell you that if you've got a circle, there is only a specific area inside of that circle, and that is what you can work with. So this idea of year-on-year growth is just, as far as I can make out, is a fallacy. So it seems weird to do something which feels a bit didactic, like you're speaking from a position of greater knowledge. But on the other hand, I sort of got to the point where I felt not saying anything about it was not really possible anymore either. And yeah, I guess I wanted to do some works which began to address that. And I guess that's one of them. There's this kind of like little pamphlet type thing that is to do with Lockheed Martin trying to buy the NHS, which is another one of them. And then within that, there's the universe works, which is to do with your position within the universe. And it's kind of, it's funny, it makes it hard for people, I think, because people love pigeonholes, but as Nightmares on Wax said years and years ago, the only thing you find in pigeonholes is pigeon shit, so I'm not really keen to be amongst that. And most people do have a wide, or at least I certainly have a wide variety of interests, and the show is going to represent that.